Marcus Reynolds stood outside Hypernova Systems' glass tower, eyes locked on the spinning logo above the entrance. He took a deep breath and smiled. "This is it," he whispered, pressing his palm against his chest where his tie sat crooked. He had ironed his best shirt, polished his shoes twice, and even rehearsed how to say good morning in a way that sounded both friendly and assertive. Inside, everything sparkled: marble floors, clean tech pods, walls covered with innovation slogans. It smelled like expensive coffee and ambition. Marcus was given a branded laptop, a keycard, and a pat on the back. "Welcome to the team," someone said, not even looking him in the eye. The first week was calm. Marcus worked late, submitted detailed reports, and offered solid feedback during meetings. He thought he was finally in a place that would recognize his value. But by week 3, things shifted. He'd walk into meeting rooms, and conversations would pause. Jokes were made. Always cloaked in humor but aimed with precision. "Look at you, Marcus. Our diversity numbers just shot up," someone chuckled one day, and laughter followed. He smiled, but it burned. He kept his head down, still performing better than his peers. But it didn't matter. He'd find his code credited to someone else. His ideas dismissed until someone white repeated them, then they'd get applause. It wasn't just the silence. It was the absence of support, of mentorship, of acknowledgement. One manager, Rick, once said during a heated brainstorming session, "Easy, boy. Don't get too excited." Everyone went quiet. Marcus blinked. Did he hear right? He reported it to HR. "We're sure it wasn't meant that way," they said with a tight smile. "Try to be understanding." Rick's old school. That night, Marcus sat in his car long after everyone had gone. The city lights shimmered on his windshield. "Maybe this isn't the dream," he whispered, gripping the wheel. But something inside him answered, "Or maybe you were just never meant to fit in. Maybe you were meant to take over." The email hit his inbox at 8:02 a.m., subject line, "Meeting with HR urgent." Marcus stared at it for a full minute, heart thudding. No explanation. No detail. Just a calendar invite from his manager, Rick, and a quiet note, "Let's meet in conference room 6. He walked in with his notebook, still believing maybe it was about a project realignment or department reshuffle. But when he saw both Rick and the HR manager, Janice, sitting stiffly with tight faces, his stomach sank. "Please, have a seat," Janice said, her voice soft but distant, like she'd already rehearsed the whole thing in her head. "We've reviewed your recent performance," Rick began, eyes darting from the window to the floor, anywhere but at Marcus. "And, unfortunately, we don't believe you're the right fit for the team moving forward." Marcus blinked. "What?" Janice leaned in. "We appreciate your time here, Marcus. But due to ongoing concerns around collaboration and culture fit, we've decided to terminate your contract, effective immediately." "Hold on." His voice cracked. "My last performance review was excellent. I've hit every milestone. What changed?" Silence. He looked at Rick. "You gave me a bonus last quarter." Rick shifted uncomfortably. "Things evolve, Marcus. Do I get to see the documentation?" Marcus asked, trying to stay calm. "What concerns? Who raised them?" Janice shook her head slowly. "This is a final decision." Security was already waiting outside. The walk to the elevator felt like a funeral march. No eye contact. No goodbye. Just cold walls and colder shoulders. They handed him a box with his things like he was a threat, not a human being. Outside, he stood by his car for what felt like hours. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just stared. Then his phone buzzed, his mother. He almost didn't answer. But when he heard her voice, warm and worried, it cracked him open. "They fired me, Ma," he whispered. Just like that. And in that moment, standing under the San Francisco sky, Marcus realized something was dying inside him, but something else was waking up. 3 months passed. Marcus barely left his apartment. The blinds stayed closed, the fridge sat nearly empty, and his inbox overflowed with unread messages, job rejections, ignored follow-ups, and automated replies that all said the same thing: "We've moved forward with other candidates." He stopped shaving. He stopped trying. Some nights, he'd scroll endlessly through job boards, but his hands never clicked apply. What was the point? Every time he thought of another interview, he'd remember that HR room. The way Janice didn't even look sorry. The way Rick didn't even fight for him. Like he was just disposable. He was on his third glass of cheap whiskey one rainy night when an article popped up on his phone. Black engineer wins $3.2 million in racial bias lawsuit against tech giant. He tapped it, read it twice, then again. The story was eerily familiar: a high-performing black employee, consistently praised, suddenly let go for being not a fit. Sounded like déjà vu. That night, something inside him cracked, but not in a bad way. For the first time in weeks, the fog lifted just enough for a thought to slip through: maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe I wasn't wrong. He reached for his phone and Googled, "best civil rights attorney for workplace discrimination." That's how he found Alicia Monroe, a sharp, confident black woman whose firm had taken on giants and won. 2 days later, they met in a small cafe. She listened quietly, occasionally jotting notes. When he finished, she looked up and said, "You've got a case, Marcus. But this won't be easy. They're going to paint you as angry, difficult, uncooperative." Marcus nodded slowly. "Let them. And what do you want out of this?" He leaned back, staring at the raindrops on the window. "Justice. Not just for me. For everyone they've done this to." That night, after filing the suit, he pulled out his dusty laptop and opened a blank document. Across the top, he typed 2 words in bold: "Rising Code." It wasn't just about fighting back anymore. Now, he was building something of his own. The headlines rolled in like a tidal wave. Former employee sues Hypernova for racial discrimination. Tech giant faces public backlash after black workers' lawsuit goes viral. At first, Marcus expected to be ignored, buried. But within 48 hours, the internet exploded. Black professionals began sharing their own stories. Hashtags trended. Influencers spoke out. And for the first time, Marcus felt seen. But while the world buzzed, Hypernova cracked. Behind their glass walls, things weren't so shiny anymore. Anonymous staffers leaked stories of internal chaos. Several engineers resigned in protest. One of Hypernova's biggest clients, a global retailer, pulled out of a $1 million contract citing ethical concerns. Inside Marcus's apartment, things were changing too. Rising Code, once just a name on a screen, was now a real project. With help from donors, he upgraded to a co-working space and brought on 3 more developers. They were all people like him, brilliant, overlooked, and hungry to prove something. Together, they built apps for small businesses and created systems with ethics at the core. They weren't just writing code. They were rewriting what it meant to belong in tech. One afternoon, while testing a new software prototype, Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Marcus Reynolds," the voice asked. "Yes. My name is Ellen Granger. I'm on the board at Hypernova." He sat up. "I'd like to meet," she said. "In person. No lawyers." Later that evening, they met at a quiet rooftop bar. Ellen was older, sharp-eyed, and direct. "We made mistakes," she said. "Big ones. And we're paying for them. The CEO's out. Our reputation's bleeding. So why call me?" Marcus asked flatly. She sipped her drink. "Because while we fell apart, you rose. You didn't just sue, you built something. And we need that." Marcus narrowed his eyes. "We want you back. But not as staff," she said. "As CEO." The silence between them was thick. "You want me to fix what you broke?" She didn't blink. "Yes." He leaned back, stunned. No part of him saw this coming. And deep down, he wasn't sure if this was redemption or a trap. Marcus didn't say yes immediately. He left Ellen's offer hanging in the air for 3 full days. During that time, he didn't tell anyone, not even his team, what was on the table. He just walked through his startup's small office, watching young developers type away, watching a dream he'd built from pain slowly becoming something powerful. But late one evening, he stood alone in his apartment, holding the box they'd handed him the day they fired him. His old name badge still sat inside, face down. He picked it up, turned it over, and whispered, "Let's rewrite the story." The next morning, he walked back into Hypernova through the same front doors, but now with a different purpose. The headlines hit like wildfire. Fired black engineer returns as CEO of the company that let him go. Marcus Reynolds becomes first black CEO of Hypernova Systems. Social media erupted. Some people called it inspiring. Others called it symbolic. But Marcus knew the truth. This wasn't just a photo op. He was walking into a company riddled with rot, and now it was his job to clean house. On his first day, he wore the same exact suit he'd been escorted out in. The receptionist blinked twice before whispering, "Welcome back, sir." Employees lined the hallway, some whispering, some avoiding his eyes. Others nodded silently, as if to say, "We're watching you." He walked into the CEO's office, placed his laptop down, and then pulled something out of his briefcase, a framed photo of his mother, smiling in church clothes. He set it on the desk. Then he exhaled. He held his first meeting with the executive team. He made it clear, the old culture was dead. Inclusion wasn't going to be a department. It was going to be the foundation. 1 week in, things were moving fast. He made changes. Recruited overlooked talent. Brought in transparency. Even skeptics began to take notice. But still, there was tension. In the corners of rooms. In whispers behind closed doors. Marcus could feel it. Something or someone wasn't happy about his return. The package came on a Tuesday. No name. No return address. Just a plain black envelope resting on the welcome mat outside Marcus's home. He picked it up cautiously. It was too light to be dangerous. But something about it felt off. Like it wasn't meant to be seen in daylight. Inside was a single sheet of paper, neatly folded. No logo. No letterhead. Just a sentence, written in jagged black ink. "You think you've won. But we never left. You're just a figurehead. Watch your back." Marcus stood frozen at the door, rereading the message again and again. His chest tightened. The words weren't just threatening. They were personal. He took the note straight to Alicia, his lawyer. She read it silently, then looked up, face grim. "This isn't just racism anymore," she said. "This is power protecting itself." That night, his phone rang. No caller ID. Against his better judgment, he answered. A deep voice crackled on the other end. Slow. Mocking. "You should have stayed out, Marcus." "But you couldn't, could you?" Then silence. He didn't sleep. The next day at Hypernova, everything felt normal on the surface: morning meetings, polite nods, corporate buzzwords. But underneath, Marcus sensed it: people watching. People waiting. People pretending. At the executive meeting, Ellen Granger looked jumpy. The CFO kept interrupting him with fake smiles and slick-side comments. Something had shifted. That evening, as Marcus left the building, the garage was too quiet. His footsteps echoed as he approached his car. That's when he saw it. The windshield smashed. Spray painted across the glass in thick red paint was a single word: imposter. Marcus didn't move. Didn't blink. He just stared, heart pounding, fists clenched. Behind him, the shadows shifted. He didn't run. He turned around slowly, scanned the empty garage, and whispered to himself, "So this is how they want to play." Then he walked back into the building. Not scared. Not broken. But ready. Because if they thought the fight was over, they hadn't met the Real Marcus Reynolds yet. To be continued. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you won't miss part 2 when it drops. Or alternatively, if you want something with a slightly more dramatic tone to match the story. The story continues soon. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell, so you're the first to catch part 2 when it premieres.